Has this ever happened to you? You try and try and try to get the powder in the vials, but it just doesn't work. Never mind that, sometimes this happens. So frustrating. I'm going to try and help you with this and other testing frustrations. Hey everybody, Reefgrrl here. Yep, that's right. That was the cranky Reefgrrl. I hate it when stuff like that happens. A lot of us reefers use Hanna test kits. And what I'm going to show you applies to any kind of a test kit that has powdered reagents or uses small vials. By the way, what I have on the screen here is my Citrus rhodactis. It's got some pretty crazy colors after the tank crash, and I'm hoping they don't change. Anyway, let's get into it. What I showed you at the beginning of the video used to happen regularly, and I got mighty sick of it, so I had to come up with a solution. The second issue involved test vials and getting them clean and dry. And finally, what do you do if you think your Hanna checker has gone rogue? I've got the answer to that one as well. Stay tuned. The solution to the powder problem was a weensy teensy funnel. I found plastic funnels, small ones, on Amazon for $1.25 Canadian, including shipping, if you can believe it. You can see the stem is quite long, and if I leave it alone, it will go into the liquid, which is not what you want. So the first thing is to cut it shorter. This handy little gadget is a tube cutter that came with another piece of reef equipment that I bought. So all I need to do is use it to cut the stem of the funnel. And I'm going to use the file on this pair of nail clippers just to remove any burrs that might be inside the hole. You don't want them there because powder will hang up on that, and you want the powder in your liquid and not stuck in the funnel. Here I'm just preparing a powder packet to cut it open. This is the phosphate reagent. It's a very fine powder, and I usually manipulate the envelope to get it as loose as I can inside there before I try and pour it out. It's a little tricky sometimes getting all of the powder out and requires careful handling of the envelope still, but it stays in the funnel. Then I tap it a bit and you can see there's very little residue. There is some, but hardly any. When the test is over, I clean up by wiping the inside of the funnel with a soft cloth and finish the job with a cotton swab. There we go. I bought enough of these funnels so that each test kit could have its own funnel to avoid cross-contamination of the reagents. The calcium powder isn't quite as fine, so there's much less residue. I'm sure everyone has their own way to clean test vials. Because I was doing so much testing, I have extra vials, which is great because I accumulate them in this container of RODI water until I run out and I absolutely have to clean them. I use this brush set. I'll put a link in the description, and I don't know what I'd do without it. There's a size for everything. I use the perfect size for the vials and I clean them out one at a time. Then I kind of wrap them in a towel and wave them around in the air and shake them and dry them and do my best to get as much water as I can out of them. The problem with this was that when I stood them up upside down on a paper towel to dry, any one of a number of things would happen. They wouldn't dry because there's no air that can get in to help dry them. They would get knocked over, they would fall on the floor, they would get covered with dust, and I needed a solution to this as well. And here it is. This is actually a socket holder. I picked it up for around 15 bucks at a surplus store, and as soon as I saw it, I knew exactly what I was going to use it for. Here we are with all of my vials freshly washed, all dried off on the outside, but you can see there is still water on the inside because if I push a towel or anything in there, there's likely to be lint left behind. So they really pretty much have to air dry. Washing them in RODI water ensures that I'm not going to get water spots as long as no dust gets in there. So it's a simple matter of inverting them and putting them over the prongs. Here we are the next day. No water spots, perfectly dry. A while ago, during, I don't know, one of my tank crashes, I was having concerns about some pretty wacky alkalinity readings I was getting from my HANA checker, and it made me a little bit worried that something might have happened with it. So I looked into it and learned that calibration fluids are available. They call them calibration fluids, but really all they are is reference solutions, because the HANA checkers are unable to be calibrated. If your checker goes bad, it needs to be replaced. I picked one up for each of calcium, phosphate, and alkalinity. This one happens to be the phosphate. And the way you use these things is simply to conduct a test by putting the clear vial in when it says C1 on your checker, then removing that when C2 pops up and putting the colored vial in. The reading you get has to fall within a certain range that is supplied in information that comes with this little kit, and as long as your reading is within that range, your checker is working fine. Every time I read of someone who had a bad checker, HANA replaced it. I'm not sure what the current policy is on that. Turned out my alkalinity checker was working properly. Peace of mind for around 12 bucks per kit. One last little hack is to always keep one vial with the line on it. You may have noticed if you've used these things that the lines soon wear off, like this. So I've kept one of these vials with the line on it so that I can always set them side by side and make sure I've got the right amount of liquid in the vial. That way, if I have a vial that is still in really good condition, except there's no marking on it, I can still keep it and use it. These things are not cheap. So I hope somebody out there finds something useful in this video, and please don't think this is a giant commercial for HANA, because it isn't. I know there are a lot of other types of test kits out there, and who knows, maybe this will spark some ideas in solving problems that I've seen with people using those other types of test kits. Right now, I am looking into switching to a different brand, perhaps the Lamont titration kits. They have a lot of really positive features, so I'm looking into that. Thanks so much for watching. As always, I really appreciate it.